right, share the screen. Hello, Carlo Miano. How are you, sir?
He felt sorry for his men. He knew he didn't have any real knowledge of warfare or tactics. He didn't have any experience to fall back on. But Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain was not normal. Where others saw obstacles, he saw an opportunity. And so he turned his back on the men advancing toward him up the hill, and he looked down at his own men, and he said, "Fix bayonets." And at first, nobody moved. They were shocked, and then they realized what he meant. "Fix your bayonets now," he commanded, moving up and down the wall so that every man could hear him. And when they had their bayonets fixed, he turned once again and pointed his sword directly downhill. And facing overwhelming odds, Chamberlain waved that blade through the air, and with a power born of courage and fear, that school teacher from Maine roared, "Charge, charge, charge," to all his men, and then started down the hill. The remaining 80 men lifted their voices to match that of their leader, and they tumbled over that wall and behind him into a history about which most people in our country have never heard. And when the Confederate troops saw Chamberlain and his men charging toward them, they turned and ran. They were certain that these were not the same soldiers they had been fighting all afternoon. Surely they had been reinforced. A battered and outnumbered regiment would never charge. And get this, in less than 5 minutes, Chamberlain had his sword on the collarbone of a Confederate captain. "You're my prisoner," Chamberlain told him. And the man turned around a fully loaded Navy Colt revolver and handed it to Chamberlain and said, "Yes, sir, I am." Within 5 more minutes, that ragged group of 80 men under Chamberlain's command without any ammunition captured over 400 enemy soldiers and prevented the Confederates from flanking the Union Army. It's an amazing story, and it's all true. But here's the thing. Here's what most people never consider. Historians have determined that had Chamberlain not charged on that day, the rebels would have won at Gettysburg. And most of them also agree that had the Confederates won at Gettysburg, the South would have won the war and that the war would have been over by that summer. And so most people assume that had the South won the war, today we would exist as two nations, the Union and the Confederacy. But historians insist that if the South had won, we would now live on a territorially fragmented continent, much like Europe, that North America would be divided today into 9 to 13 countries, which means that when Hitler swept across Europe in 1940, there would have been no United States of America to stand in the breach. That when Hirohito systematically invaded the islands of the South Pacific, there would not have been a country big enough, strong enough, and wealthy enough to fight and win 2 wars on 2 fronts at the same time. Guys, the United States of America exists today because of a single man, a 34-year-old college professor who on one day made one move and changed the course of history. How many people were freed from slavery as a result of that charge? So let me ask you again, what is the butterfly effect of one person gaining financial freedom in this business? Everything you do matters. Every move you make and every action you take matters, not just for you or for your family, but to your Ambit business and to everybody else. Everything you do matters for all of us and for all time. You know, years later, Chamberlain would recall that stubbornness was his greatest advantage in that battle. He said that he had deep within him the inability to do nothing. That when faced with the choice between doing something and doing nothing, he chose to act. 5 years ago, Brian McClure told me no for the 3rd time when I asked him to join Ambit Energy as a founding national consultant. I had a choice. I could take no for an answer and do nothing, or I could call him back one more time. And at the time, that didn't even seem like a big decision to me. I mean, I could have scratched Brian's name off the list of 10 people that we had and moved on. But I'm pretty stubborn too, and so I called Brian back again, and I asked him to assume, just for the sake of argument, that he could build a team in Ambit that was the same size as the team he built in Excel. and I asked him to go get his old downline report and just apply our compensation plan to it and call me back. A couple days later, he called me and said, I'm all in.
All right, everybody. So that's Chris Chambliss. He's our former chief marketing officer and co-founder of Ambit Energy. And that was a speech that he did back at Ambition of 2011. And so I thought it was the perfect kind of clip to talk about, you know, our book that we're going through, The Traveler's Gift, and kind of always looking for something good and creative to put on there. And we're going to talk a little bit tonight about resiliency. We're going to talk about kind of springing back from things and just being quick on your feet. But I thought that was appropriate when I was putting together all the notes this morning and putting everything together. So welcome everyone to the call. We've got a couple new folks that are on here, and we're really, really enjoy everyone jumping on. So we want to jump in real quick and talk about promotions. First of all, last week we had another senior consultant promote on the team. So that is underneath Molly Ward, and it's one of her 5 seniors. So I think that's probably her 4th, if I'm not mistaken, towards her 5 to get into executive consultant. So congrats to Brian Willis. Whoop, whoop. Great job there. And Molly Ward. Also, that is on Faisal Mansour's team. So that is one of Faisal's going to be his executives to get him to national. So the kid is killing it and doing a great job there. And then we want to talk about the promotions that we've got going on right now. We've got the fast track for fast cash, and then we've got the big launch. So these have been out for a little while now, but they are coming to an end on Friday. And you can mark my words, I haven't had a conversation, you know, with anybody at Vistra or anything like that, but promise you, this promotion, they're over on Friday. So if you want to make it rain, if you want to make some stuff happen, you need to do it right about now, because you got about 72 hours to put everybody in that's going to get to take advantage of these promotions. Fast track for fast cash is anyone that signs up between now and Friday the 6th, and they get promoted to regional consultant. They will, if they're registered for simulcast, they will qualify for $500 promotional bonus. And a few of the folks that we went through a couple weeks ago, but if they were to sponsor all 6 people themselves, they tripled every one of them. They're registered for simulcast themselves and hit that. It's $2,600. So it's some pretty significant cash as a brand new person coming to business. And then the big launch, triple bonus for Texas consultants, and it kind of goes, you got to have 6 customer points to do that within your first 28 days. 2 of those points can come from your website. So that's how that works. And I always want to just share with people, keep in mind all of the extra promotions that are on here, whether it's for your regional, senior, executive, or national coding. You do have to have those extra customer points. You still have to be a qualified regional consultant, a qualified senior consultant, a qualified executive, and a qualified national. You never lose your rank. However, if you don't have your customer points, so it's 5 to 6, 5 customer points for senior, 10 to 18, 10 customer points for a senior consultant, 15 for an executive, 20 for a national. If you don't have those customer points, then you don't qualify for that. And there's a slight little grace period, but you got to always keep an eye on your customer points. Those are costly situations that we've gone through them, you know, from time to time. But anyway, just want to share that with you. All right, next up, guys, I'm telling you, have you ever had like little goosebumps, little chicken skin, a little scared to do something? Well, I have interviewed Andy Andrews a couple times on a radio show that I used to do, and the whole time we've been going through this book, I kept thinking, man, I need to call Andy and see if I can get him on. Man, I need to call Andy. And I was like a chicken, you know what I mean? I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then this weekend, I had 4 days that were off where I wasn't in the office all day long every day. And my mind just keeps running and keeps thinking. And it just kept eating at me. I got to call him and see if he'll come on. And so I reached out to Sandy, his booking agent. She does a whole lot more than that. She's the talent booking agent. But I reached out to Sandy, and I was like, hey, I know it's a long shot, but hey, is there any way Andy could jump on a call for me tomorrow night, which was yesterday morning? And she's like, yeah, let me see. And so she reached out to him. She's like, yep, email me back, get some details, got it all put together. And I started promoting, and I was super excited. I mean, it was like, woo, I'm on top of the mountain. I'm going to have Andy on the call. Man, he's going to just put a bow on this as we wrap up this book. And when I started this call, I talked about we're going to talk about resilience and springing back. So then I get a call today at like maybe 3 o'clock or something, and she's like, I got some bad news. Andy wasn't feeling good last night. It's gotten worse today, and his wife Polly just called me and said he is down and out, and he feels horrible physically, but he feels even worse that he can't jump on the call tonight. She goes, I understand it's kind of like a one-time kind of deal because you guys are wrapping up the book tonight. She goes, but he said he'll reschedule, he'll do something. I was like, hey, tell him to get to feeling better. We're going to be all right. So I had to kind of go back through and undo the Facebook post and some of those things and send out to some of the key leaders that I'd reached out to. But here's the deal. Guys, we're still going to go through it. We're still going to wrap up chapters 10 and 11. We're going to talk about it like we always do. And then we'll have Andy on. He has done a few things for me. And so we'll have him on, and we're going to have some other great leaders, some of them within Ambit, some of them outside Ambit, to share information with us. So I apologize. He apologizes. I mean, it was, like I said, he felt horrible that he couldn't be here, that he felt that bad. But he's got a great story, and we'll have him on at some point in the future to tell it again and maybe do a little recap on the Traveler's Gift. So what I want to do now, because I know I told some people that we were going to do that, I wanted to address that right off the bat so it wasn't something towards the end here. But what I want to talk about now is our training, right? So our basic fundamentals of Ambit Energy. So those of you that are new on the call, get out your notebooks. Those of you that have been around for a while, get out your notebooks. Those of you that know it all and you got it all put together, get out your notebook anyway. Okay, let's make sure that we go through these fundamentals. Written list. Everybody needs a written list. It can be a physical written list. There's some logic behind why it needs to be physically written. It can be in an Excel spreadsheet. Mine has nothing to do with psychological reasons why. It's because I have not great handwriting, and I like to be able to put a lot of notes, and I want to be able to read them in the future. So I do mine in an Excel spreadsheet, but make sure that you have a written list. Invitation, that's where you invite somebody to this business. Everybody on this call was at some point invited with something like this. Are you interested in making some extra money? Okay. It may have been something a little different than that, but it was something to that effect. Next up is the presentation. That's where you allow the videos that corporate provides us with to present this opportunity to the person that you've invited to the call. Okay. And then there's validation. We're going to talk about that tonight. Tonight's topic is validation. So written list, invitation, presentation, validation. Those are the four cornerstones of this business. So we're going to talk about validation and how to best do a validation. We sometimes call them a three-way call, okay? And so I want to prepare you for a few things. Number one, you really want to get somebody that has experience, preferably a senior consultant or above. If your executive or national is engaged in the business, then get them, to jump on and do it with you. If they're not engaged in the business, give them a call anyway. See if you can get them engaged, because they've got, quite a rank, and they make a lot of money overrides, and Ambit pays for that leadership. So, but reach out to them and build a relationship. Build a relationship with other crossline people that you might think can do a great job for you. A little bit earlier, I saw Miguel DeSiqueta get on the call. Super cool to have him on, and I know him because I've been to meetings. He used to come every once in a while to one of the Dallas trainings. He would come up, and he and his niece and some of the team members, and I got to know him, and I didn't even realize he was an executive. But the dude, kills in the business. But he's Brazilian and Japanese. He speaks Portuguese, and I've actually used him a couple of times for some things that were, related to people that spoke Portuguese, because I knew him. He didn't get paid off of me. I don't get paid off him, but I built that relationship. So he was willing to do a call with me. And so, and I saw him over in Japan when I was over there. And so lots of great stuff from Crossline as well. But you want someone to validate, because all your friends and family, they know that you're not an expert in this business, okay? So what you want to do is you want to be able to borrow somebody else's experience until you get your own. So here's what that looks like. You've got these relationships, you've built them up, and now you've shown the presentation, and you've gone through everything. And then at the end of the presentation, there's a few questions that you ask. Number one, what was your favorite part? Number two, what else did you like? Number three, do you see how this makes sense? And when you ask that question, that's when you kind of tee it up for someone like Miguel to jump on and help you just knock it out of the park. So here's what that looks like. Do you see how this makes sense? And they say, well, yeah, how many levels is it again? That kind of stuff. And that's whenever you say, hold on for a second. make sure to write that down. Hold on for a second. It's real simple to do. You just say, hey, hold on for a second. Jared and I do training all the time. I'll love it because I'll get Jared and we'll be in the middle of trying to say, Jared, hold on for a second. And he'll just be like, he'll stop because it's just a human behavior that people do. But when you tell them to hold on, they do it. Then you can put them on mute. Then you can conduct your three-way call, conference in your upline or the person doing the validation. Now, one prerequisite to that is you need to send out a text message prior to the actual call. Don't call somebody right on the bat if you showed the plan, because what that does is it puts you in a really subordinate position because they may not answer their call. Then you're scrambling around. So you want to send out a text message maybe 2 or 3 hours before and say, hey, Miguel, are you available for a three-way call or a 3WC, a three-way call at 3:15 today? And if he doesn't respond back to you immediately, then you can reach out maybe to a couple of other people. But I might pick him because he's in the Houston area, or I might pick him because maybe he is somebody that's Brazilian background. Maybe they speak Portuguese, and so I'm looking for common denominators with people. So I sent a text message to him at, let's say, around lunchtime at noon or something. He responds back to me, yeah, Doug, I can do that. So then you've shown the plan. It's now, let's say, 3:20, something like that. But what you do is as soon as you start showing the videos, I want you to send another text message. So I'm going to send a text message to Miguel and say, Miguel, I just started the videos. What that does is it lets him know that sometime in the next 10 or 15 minutes that we're going to be, doing, ready for the three-way call. So he's prepared. It puts him on notice, but then it also just lets him know that you did indeed start. Now, the other side of that is if you don't start, if they don't answer their phone, send them a courtesy text and say, hey, Miguel, they didn't answer their phone. I'll see if I can reschedule. Just make sure you're doing that. So that's the validation scheduling. Now you've told them, hey, hold on for a second. You conference in Miguel. Hey, Miguel, hey, this is Doug. Hey, I've got my prospect on the phone here, Shirley. Now you're gonna tell him that that's who you're talking to, but don't call Shirley a prospect. Okay. So what you're gonna do is you get Miguel and you get her and you conference them together, and then you quickly say, hey, Shirley. Actually, I got Miguel on the line. Miguel's got a lot of experience in this business, and I really wanted to make sure and get everything addressed for you. And I know you mentioned one thing when I asked you, does this make sense? So I just want to make sure and get everything crystal clear for you, make great use of your time. Miguel, this is Shirley, and Shirley, I'm really looking forward to having her on the team. I mean, she is a phenomenal individual. Everybody loves her when they meet her, and you give her a few kudos. And then what you do is you say, hey, Shirley, can you ask Miguel that same thing you just now asked me? And then you put yourself on mute. Now, a couple of things. You didn't hear me ever say the word question there. I said there was a few things that she wanted clarity on. Hey, Shirley, can you ask Miguel that again real quick? Because when you start planting the word questions in their mind, it makes them think they need to ask questions. And the kiss of death whenever you're doing a three-way call, or before you even get there, is just say, hey, Shirley, do you got any questions? And then what happens is Shirley kind of thinks, no, I don't have any questions. But you know what? Let me go do some research and I'll come back to you with my questions. That's what you just did to yourself. You took a bear trap, you opened it up, and then you just stuck your head in there, and it just crammed a bear, a bear trap on your head because you opened the door to saying that. So what you do there is you just say, hey, she wants a little more clarity on a few things. And then you turn it over to Miguel, and you did hear me say, put your phone on mute. Now, let me tell you something. I know personally that Doug Parker, I want to talk. I like to talk, okay? I'm pretty quick-witted. I want to go through stuff. But while Miguel is on that phone, I have turned it over to him. He is the validator. He is the professional. He is the one that is the guru of gurus as far as this call goes. Miguel has made thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars, okay, in this business. And Miguel doesn't need Doug to jump on and say, Miguel, tell Shirley about the free electricity. Don't forget about that, okay? He doesn't need that. Okay, so you just put yourself on mute, because what I catch myself doing is I go, because I want to tell Miguel to tell it, because like something to me triggered something she said or he said to say that. But really, whenever you interrupt, what you've done is you've taken all of the authority and power away from Miguel, and you've now made him look like he's not as professional as he really is. Okay, so don't do that to people. I have seen people that do validations in person at business presentations, and then the person that's having the validation done, the newer consultant, let's just say, and they won't shut up. and the person that was doing the validation just walks off. They'll just flat walk off. They're like, listen, don't sound like you need me to do a validation, man. You're doing a great job. High five. And they walk off. And they won't do a validation form ever again because it interrupts the flow of their thought process. They have an order they want to go through things in. And so that's kind of in a nutshell how you handle it. So make sure, put yourself on mute. And then also if you're in person, put yourself on mute, zip your lips. And then also be careful about your body reactions too, because a lot of times you'll be like, and you're like, when you're on mute, it's not that big a deal because people can't hear you. But when you're in person, like just sit back, relax, and totally focus on Miguel and listen to what Miguel's saying. And then look at Shirley when she's talking and listen to her. And it's kind of like the military, okay, in this particular aspect. You don't speak unless you're spoken to, okay? That's just something to write down. It'll save you, pain and misery in the future. Just don't speak unless you're spoken to. If the guest that you're presenting to asks you a question, defer it back to Miguel. Hey, Miguel, what do you think about that? And that way you keep deferring to them as the authority, and that'll really help you in growing your business. So, all right, guys. So we're about 10 minutes into the call, 9 minutes into the call. For those of you just joining, we did have to do a reschedule on Andy jumping on the call. He is not feeling well, and so my apologies and his deepest regrets that he couldn't be on here. He is not feeling well at all, but he assures me that he will jump back on at some point in the future. So I had a whole bunch of notes and all kinds of good stuff I was going to go over specifically related to him. But hey, you got to be resilient. You got to be quick on your feet. Life deals you some curveballs sometimes, and today is one of those little curveballs. It's a first world problem. I'm still sitting in a building that's got 72-degree temperature, and they got lights and power and internet. So you know what? I'm sorry we don't have Andy on here, but we'll definitely get him back on at some point in the future. So let's now jump into discussion of chapters 10 and 11 of the wrap up of the Traveler's Gift, unless someone has something that they'd like to add as it relates to invitation, presentation, validation, written list. And if you do, by all means. Hey, Jared, can they unmute themselves?
Yes, they should be able to unmute themselves.
Okay. So if you've got something you want to add to invitation, presentation, validation, feel free to do that right now. Take yourself off mute and just jump right in. Otherwise, we'll jump into chapters 10 and 11 of the book and then wrap this up and go from there. So if you have a point as it relates to chapters 10 or 11, please just unmute yourself and jump right in. Don't all speak at one time.
Hey, Doug, I just want to thank you for sharing that validation. That was great pointers. I'm glad that you actually shared that with everybody. I do believe that that's one of the most powerful tools that we have in our business is making sure that the validation is actually done correctly. And that's how we build a business. We plant a seed and we get people to understand that this business is powerful and we can reach out to as many people as we can. So thank you for doing the Zoom webinars as well.
You got it, brother. Well, hey, Miguel, thanks for all you do. I mean, I know over the years you and I have helped each other out, here and there. And, man, thanks for all you guys do. These are fundamental building blocks. And whether it is biblically based, if you build something on a sand or if you build it on the rock, it's the same thing with this business. We're building foundational blocks so that others can come in and build other blocks on top of that and other blocks on top of that so that we can have success. And whenever it's 100% personality driven or not following a proven plan or process, it makes it very difficult to duplicate. And that was the hardest thing for me. It took me 3 years to learn that, Miguel. And finally I just submitted and said, all right, I'm going to try it your way. And then all of a sudden, man, my business took off like crazy. I know you've got great leadership. I had great leadership. I was just hard-headed as heck and didn't want to listen. And finally I did, and then it helped me out a lot. So, man, thanks for those kudos.
Yeah, I think we're all hard-headed at first, man, because I was too. And then I finally said, I'm going to give in and actually try to follow their system. And, man, that's when the results really happen. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that as well.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, brother. All right, anybody else got anything as it relates to invitation, presentation, validation, written list? Or let's jump into chapter 10 then. All right, who's up first? Oh, we got some shy people. Who we got? We got Samsung Ricardo. You want to jump in and say something?
This is Jared.
All
Yeah,
right.
sure. I mean, I think just the imagery of him, stepping into the future, that kind of makes the most sense. He goes back into the past pretty much every single chapter, and then, um, he goes back into the future, and he just gets glimpses of each decision as he figures out, hey, who is this super successful person that has all these people that's working for him? It's like, man, hey, you almost have him feeling like he's thinking about, hey, this really powerful speaker that's talking about all these people that he already met and saw, and then he walks up, and then I guess it's just the page that as he goes through the speaker, where it says David Ponder International on page 194. Just that imagery of seeing that his name up on there, kind of in the light, so to speak, of hey, this guy's really made something happen and really made a difference in his life and a bunch of other people's lives. And I think that's um, very applicable to what we're trying to do with Ambit Energy and build a network marketing business, because if you're not duplicating and having other people having success, financial success, then it's very difficult to leave that kind of legacy of financial independence, and whether that's people that are retired from what they're doing full time or not. But you got to be able to duplicate, so you have other people that are putting their name up in the lights to different degrees. So I mean, I think it's just kind of makes sense with what we're kind of doing with network marketing.
Hey, can I put you on the spot on something real quick?
Yeah, sure.
So when you saw this Ponder International, and you just articulated that. So this year, like, your name was in the lights. You became a top 50 income earner, and you were on the stage at Ambit. And while this is a fiction book, there is a real, true, live, breathing situation that you recently went through a few months ago. And I think you told me you got like 7,000 people on your team now.
Yeah, it's like 73 something, 7,300, something like that.
So just tell us a little bit about that experience. About, for the first time, you're on stage as a top 50 income earner out of 400,000+ people. Just kind of what that was like, and then knowing all the people's lives that you've impacted and the differences and how that's going, with your team now.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I mean, there's some legit number of individuals on our team that are at all different promotion levels, at pretty much every single promotion level, even as a marketing consultant, that are in the range of some legitimate residual income that comes in month after month. And although we're not supposed to discuss what everybody makes and things along those lines, but
Well, real quick, disclosure. Just because somebody else made it don't mean you made it. Go look at Ambit's disclosure to see what people make on
exactly.
average, blah, blah, blah. We ain't guaranteeing nothing. We're just talking about personal experiences that we've seen. Carry on.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Duly noted. But for somebody to be a regional consultant and have their mortgage covered by the residual, which most people know what an average mortgage is, that's pretty substantial and a couple of folks that are making what my teaching salary was on a residual basis per year at senior consultant, having personally sponsored 7 people, and that's it. So, I mean, that's not a terrible place to be. And I want everybody to see that as being a potential place down the road. But the vast majority, I think, of people are going to take themselves out of the game mentally, or just stop pushing, or just not push hard enough to really reach what they want to get. And when you say that kind of, name the lights thing, that's been a 10-year kind of journey. So it didn't happen overnight. But I mean, I see that as a tremendous value to get people in a position to perform at higher levels, no matter what that is. If they're making $100 a month part-time, then there's no reason why they can't double up on their effort and turn it into 200, and then turn it into 500, turn it into $1,000 a month, if they can just put the activity in and put the conversations in to make it happen. So, I mean, it's a direct parallel. I mean, everything that you do has a dramatic effect on everybody else. And it kind of goes from that butterfly effect. If one person hadn't introduced you to the business, where would you be? Would you be doing something else? Would any of your close friends or people that you've built up within the Ambit that are performing really well, doing well, you may have never met them before. So, I mean, it's a unique scenario where we got to be super thankful and appreciative of everybody that came before us, and give everybody their due respects for just, being there, introducing it to the next person that got us in business.
Yep, you got it, man. That's good. Well, I just wanted to, I thought that was, I didn't even think about it until you said that, but that was particularly, impactful. All right, who else is up? Who wants to share something they read in the book?
This is Shirley Chisholm, executive consultant. I like the part about it says the hedge of thorns is divine protection placed upon a person who is destined to make a difference. Until you have accomplished what you were put on the earth to do, you cannot be harmed. It also says by taking leadership, ironically, a person deserves leadership. People follow a man who simply says, "Follow me." Let's see. There comes a time in everyone's life that a decision is required, and that decision, if you make it, will have a far-reaching effect on generations yet unborn. One decision that you make can literally change the world, and the possibility of success is for anyone.
Good. I had almost all those
That's
things highlighted. That's good. All right, who's next up?
Yeah, I had that same one highlighted. By taking leadership, ironically, a person deserves leadership. But I also had highlighted, as you lead others to success and a life of their dreams, a life you seek and deserve will be revealed onto you. So I really like that last part. It's just like that saying, you achieve your dreams by helping others achieve their dreams. I think that correlates directly to what we do as network marketers. Everything that we help people do, of course, comes back to us, financially. So I think that was really powerful.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
All right, who else is up? James, you always share good stuff. Did you read the chapter this week? Uh-oh, he's on mute. We'll see. All right, so I had a couple.
I'm dad sitting tonight. My 7 and 5-year-old are screaming and yelling.
I got you, brother. I got you. Well, hey, if you get to a chance where you can jump on, feel free to do so. All right, so I had this section highlighted at really almost all of page 186, but the crazy thing was that was the exact story that Chris Chambliss told, and I didn't even know that. I mean, I'd read this chapter, and then I went back through looking for the ambition presentation or keynote speech that Chris had done. And then as I'm listening to it, I'm like, holy moly. It's like not word for word, but it's the exact same story. And I thought that was super cool. And so I love that part of it. Shirley took all the good stuff that I had highlighted. So we'll see if there's anything else I had in here. I think there was a couple more nuggets. I mean, she almost had everything I had done there. So, I mean, like mother, like son, I guess, for me. All right, who else wants to share something? All right, guys, come on now.
Are we moving into the chapter 11 or just the 10 for the moment?
Sounds like we need to move on to chapter 11.
I just, wanted to say right before the, the acknowledgments, I'm always kind of like, you watch a movie and you want like closure, right? You see something, it's like, hey, what happens next? It's like if it just ends mysteriously and you don't know what happens at the next day or the next year, you kind of just don't have any closure and stuff. But he just kind of goes through his thoughts at the end of him saying, did I really go visit all those people? Did they really talk to me? Did they really make that change? It was just me dreaming. Because obviously it would be pretty impressive if he was dreaming and it was great, but it'd be like really cool if he actually could prove it to other people that he'd been there. Mm-hmm. And then he looks down and just figures out that he's got that pouch with all the things in there that actually happened to him. And that's how the book ends. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. So whether it happened or not, those truths are still good to go for everybody else that wants to apply them. But I just thought it was a great ending to just a really book that I just didn't know was conceptually written that way. I just enjoyed it tremendously.
Cool. Yeah, I liked it too. And of course, I highlighted the 7 decisions on page 204 that are right here. The buck stops here. I will seek wisdom. I'm a person of action. I have a decided heart. Today I will choose to be happy. I will greet this day with a forgiving spirit, and I will persist without exception. So, that's the theme of this whole entire book. And to me, it just, I mean, I don't know how many times, I bet I've been through this book probably a minimum of 5 or 6 or 7 times. And I just keep, you know, every time I go through it, it just makes me get more and more excited about the practical nature of everything that's in there. And sometimes people, I think, get, you know, a little run down in life. And what do I do? Like, I'll do it. Just what do I do? And you read something like this, and it gives you some practical steps and ways that you can apply this to your life and have some success. And like I said, while definitely it's fiction, there are parts of it that were true, and then all of the principles are absolutely true. So that's good stuff. Does anybody else want to throw anything out there? Come on now, don't be shy. Okay, Jared, you want to wrap up anything else with this? Okay, so
I'm good. Bring it home.
All right, so here's the deal, everybody. So we're going to try to do some creative stuff in 2020, and you know, realistically, if you made all the money that you wanted to make and you had the exact lifestyle and all the time that you wanted to have in 2019 or before, then God has absolutely blessed you, and fantastic. High five, right? For real. If you didn't have all the time that you wanted, all the time freedom, if you didn't have all the money, if you didn't make as much money in the first 11 months of this year that you wanted to, and you got 1 month left, and I saw John Drew posted something today or yesterday that said, this is the last month of the decade, okay? I mean, this is like the last month of the decade. It just hit me that it is the last month of the decade. So if you didn't make as much money as you want to make in the last decade, you got 1 month to finish it up, all right? So you can tighten it up and do what you do. But in order to get where you're going, what gets you from point A to point B is not what's going to necessarily get you from point B to point C. And I'm assuming that you want to get to point C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, all the way down to number Z, or letter Z, I should say, to get all the way to the end to maximize this deal. So if you're sitting at point B right now, you're going to have to do something different than what you did from A to B, and it's going to require some discipline. I talked a little bit about discipline on the Team 526 call on Sunday night, and how the world will discipline you, or you can be self-disciplined. And I know as a little kid, I was disciplined a lot. I got spankings and I didn't like them. And as an adult, I don't really like getting, disciplined by the world either. I prefer to be self-disciplined and intrinsically motivated, so I don't have somebody else telling me what to do. That's what this business is all about, or entrepreneur type businesses. You know, entrepreneurs are the only people in the world that'll work 80 hours a week just so they don't have to work 40 hours a week for somebody else. And I know a lot of people on here want time freedom. So all of that to say, you're going to have to be more disciplined than you've ever been in your life if you want to have different results than you've ever had in your life. So let's talk about what our next book is going to look like. It's the 10X rule. Okay. It's by Grant Cardone. And this is a little bit larger book, and it's not stories. It's not all warm and fuzzy. It makes you, get all whatever, but it is applicable and hardcore and pop you in the mouth, go to work, suck it up, buttercup kind of stuff. And so, but this one's a little bit longer. It's 230 pages or something. And so my recommendation is a little bit over 200 pages. My recommendation is that we go through about 33 roughly pages per week, and we can get it knocked out in 6 weeks. That'll have us getting this book done by roughly by a simulcast, I believe. And it's got some great things on goals, and essentially you're going to have to do 10 times as much as you think you're going to do to really accomplish your goals. So if you want to make $100,000 in 2020, whether it be with Ambit or any other, your regular business, whatever, it's $8,333.33 a month. Okay, so 33 times 12 is $100,000. One of those months is 34 cents. But if you think you're gonna make $100,000, you got some kind of game plan. And this book tells you that you're going to have to do a lot more than you think you're going to have to do. You're going to have to prepare for failure because you're going to have some of it. You're going to have to really figure out what is it that I'm going to do. So I will tell you that I've gotten a lot of great compliments from folks. They love the Traveler's Gift. A lot of you have gone through it. Some of you I know maybe don't love to talk on the calls. You just more want to listen. Um, Another discipline moment, okay? Get outside your comfort zone and talk, okay? We're all friends here. We're not going to make fun of you or anything, but you've got to get outside of your comfort zone, and we need your engagement for others on the call. You need to get outside your comfort zone so that if you can't talk in front of your friends, then are you going to be able to talk to perfect strangers and be successful? Probably not. You got to get outside of your comfort zone, okay? And we're here to help you. I love David Belmar on at the Dallas Business presentation. He says, "My name is David. I'm your friend. Okay, we're your friends here. Okay, we really do want to help you get better. We need your engagement." Now, here's the other thing. I know I'm looking at you right there, you people right there. I know some of you, y'all didn't read the book. Okay, some of you actually ordered the book, but you didn't even read it. Okay, you need to read it. The content is great. There's a ton of stuff that we don't talk about that's in here that are good, but we don't have time to go over it all. But this book, seriously, you need to get it. So you can go to Amazon. If you got an Amazon Prime account, they can deliver it to you quick. But you need to get it like tomorrow because you got to read 33 pages. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the way through the first, I think it's 5 chapters if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to tell you right now so that we know for sure. We're going to go through the first 4 chapters, okay? So everything in the beginning, all the way through the first 4 chapters, which chapter 5 ends on page 33. So we're going to go through the first 4 chapters of this book, okay? And at the end of every book, it's got a little exercise, okay? Now, and you write in some notes of what you learned and what are you going to do to go execute. So what I do is I always get the audio version and I get the hard version. That way I could make notes in it. So if you notice at my traveler's gift, you look at all the highlights and I've got stuff all in it. And I mean all over. And I love it because I can go back through and skim my highlighted notes and just see what were some of the things that I really liked. And the stuff that I really, really liked, I highlight it and I underline it. Anyway, highlight and underline it. And I may even put stars out in the margin. But guys, go get the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. And if you can financially do it, I would recommend, get the audio version and get the hard copy version, and then highlight what you like because it makes it a lot easier for us to go over as a team. And then let's go out there and knock it out of the park in 2020. But in order to do that, we got to do things now that are uncomfortable. And I want everybody on this call, as many of your team members as possible, if you can afford it, get 3 or 4 of the books and ask somebody, hey, if I give you this book, will you commit to reading it and getting on here with me? I mean, I don't know what these books cost, maybe $10 or $20 or something, but whatever they cost, if you've got a team member that goes out and sponsors one person, you're going to get more than your money back. If you're a marketing consultant only and they sponsor one person, and you're their coded RC or SC or EC or whatever, you're going to get a minimum of $55 when they get their first 2 customers, maybe double, triple, who knows, maybe quadruple. That'd be nice. But let's invest in our teams. Let's invest in ourselves. Carlo mentioned it about helping other people. Zig Ziglar had a quote that said, if you just help enough other people get what they want in life, you'll always have what you want. That has served me so well over my years in life. I mean, in business for sure, but in life just in general. So with that being said, let's everybody get the book. Let's really everybody read it every single week, and then please participate. Get outside your comfort zone, and let's go out there and make some money. I mean, that's why we're doing this business. Let's do our absolute best in this next 6-7 weeks to get promoted to whatever the next rank is. Put yourself in a position to win in 2020. Okay, it's designed. Our compensation plan is designed for you to go out and help other people. And when you're helping other people, you get promoted. And then whenever you get promoted, it continues to build your residual, and it helps you get in a position to have financial freedom. And Jared alluded to a couple of the people, but I'm thankful. As we kind of wrap up these last couple of things, I'm thankful. We just finished up Thanksgiving, a couple of days ago. I'm very thankful that a guy named Terry LaCour, that I've never met one time in my life, that's my national consultant, that he sponsored somebody named Terry Hammock, and then Terry Hammock knew Richard and Mary Amuedo, and then Richard just threw his credit card across the table one time, wasn't interested in working the business, but then they talked to a guy named Jared Abshire. Jared Abshire talked to a guy named Stephen Smiley. Stephen Smiley talked to a guy named James Penny. And James Penny was my employee that just knocked on my door one day. So I'm thankful for all those people, that's my family lineage in Ambit Energy. And even though some of them I know very little and some of them I've never even met in person in my life, if it wasn't for any one of those people, the butterfly effect of what that's doing for me and my personally and my family, and then organizationally, I broke the 4,000 consultant mark over the weekend. And so what that's doing for me and the 4,000 people that are on my team, it's all because one person talked to one person. So thankful for all that. And if you hang in this deal, you can have your story. It won't be my story. It won't be exactly the same, but it'll be your story. And I look forward to hearing it soon. So we'll wrap everything up. And again, sorry that Andy was not able to make the call, but I promise you this, his books are powerful. And there are a couple other ones on executing the 7 decisions that there's a good book on doing that. So if you can, and you got time, I recommend you do that too, but there's only so much time in a day. So 10X rule, get the book, get on this call next Tuesday, get your team members on here, be prepared. You got to read 30 pages. So get that and highlight it and then participate. Good to see everybody. We got some new people on here tonight. So we'll let Jared unmute everybody and we can all say good night and goodbye. Aries, good to see you, ma'am. We've got Michelle that was new on here. We got Louisa. Good to see everyone. Turn on your cameras and say hello, everybody.
I'm in the car, but hi. Good to
Hello. Yes, ma'am.
But thank you so much, Doug, for hosting this meeting. I will definitely get my team. I have actually some team members here, and we'll definitely be on the next one. So appreciate it.